and I was lucky. There was no one on the road, and I'd fallen asleep and drifted across to the other side of the road. Not long after that, someone I knew through someone had the same thing happen, and they didn't survive.
No way, really?
Yeah, they actually went and hit a pole and passed away.
No
and
way.
So it really shook me up.
G'day, Shane. How are you?
Good, man. You doing?
That's good. I'm pretty good. I just wanted to welcome you to Friday Night Drinks, considering that you and I are both partnerless, at least for tonight. Like, what else can we do? I know. Let's record a podcast. There we go.
Yep. Yeah. That's the kind of people we are.
Yep. And yeah, we were just talking about chores and how I don't mind doing them. I find them relaxing, and I think that's just the kind of person I am. You know, if it's going to be a boring task, what I'll do is I'll like on some headphones, listen to a podcast or some music, and just get to it. Now, the downside of that is if a task was to take, I don't know, 20, 30 minutes, and doing it with concentration, doing it with headphones in means that it could take 2 to 3 hours for me. So, you know, in one way, the chore gets done, but in another way, it takes a lot longer than it should.
Yeah.
And that comment was, that little story was spawned from you and I talking just before we hit record about the instructor that has taken my that's been leading my coaching course. And he said that one of the first investments that he made was to hire a cleaner. And his justification was, he could spend, the 2, 3, 4 hours cleaning his house, or he could pay somebody else to do it. And with the same time, he could actually create a digital product, or he could work on himself. And I've heard that from a number of people. And I think the time I heard it before then was many years ago, and I thought, like, that's stupid. Like, why would you do that? But now I get it. Now I get it. We've mentioned before how much I love my me time and just doing stuff for myself. And in some instances, I think cleaning is part of that, but it's almost at a detriment. In a way, taking all that time and. If I'd actually spent that time, hired a cleaner and spent the time on coaching or on my business or on something that's productive, then I can totally say that.
Yeah, I think there's so many benefits actually. For me, it all comes back to energy. For me, I was saying to you that, for quite a long time now, I've had a gardener comes in every couple of weeks and keeps it pretty tidy. And for me, the first time that I've kind of had to do it in probably about more than 12 months anyway, that I've had to take the lawnmower out, dust it off and go and do it. And it's not that I didn't find it therapeutic at one point. It's just for me to go and do it and deal with hay fever and things like that was too much for me. But also on a standpoint from the amount of time it takes me for someone else to come in to do it in half the amount of time and make it look better. Whatever I do will if I was doing a job. To pay him, it'd probably cost me maybe about 2 or 3 hours in time in terms of doing something more constructive, where I don't have to go out and sweat and, tear up and everything. And so for me, on an energetic level, it's really good because it makes me feel better that someone's coming in that's doing something that I don't really enjoy. And while he's doing that, I'm actually working on my business or doing something else,
I know. We're going to get there soon. We're going to get there. And I'm not being rude by not looking at you, but it's funny. One of the first words that you'd mentioned in your reply was energy. Yeah. And as I was about to hit record, as I was about to start up the podcast, I actually thought that was one that was one of the topics that I wanted to bring up,
Yeah.
and it's actually in relation to a book. I'm trying to find the book that I had listened to. I listened to so many books, and they specifically reference energy, and specifically 4 parts. So energy isn't, energy can be a whole bunch of different things, but as it pertained to this book, and it will come to me during the course of the discussion, their 4 parts for energy was physical energy, which is fairly straightforward. It was mental energy, again, fairly straightforward. It was emotional energy, and the last energy was spiritual energy. And I remember listening to that book and being like super surprised, because I had always had energy in 3, and decaf. So the decaf network is an acronym, and the E had always stood for energy. And I referenced more the 3 that I was more familiar with. So that was there's physical energy, spiritual energy, and mental energy. And they've introduced emotional energy into it as well. And I think that ties it in nicely. And it's something that I reference to a lot in terms of some of the journaling stuff that I do each morning.
Yeah.
There's a specific section in there where I ask for something. It's a specific question, like, what am I asking for? And more often than not, it is one of those specific types of energy. If I'm particularly tired from the day before, then I'll be wanting to get a bit of physical energy. If I am feeling a bit uncluttered, not sure of myself, then it might be mental energy. If my emotions aren't in check, if they're a bit all over the place, then be asking for emotional energy. And generally as well, other than say physical energy, which is probably one of the ones I ask for the most, is the spiritual energy, which is always a default stance for me, but I don't think you can get enough of it, especially when you have the day prior that kind of tests you, or there's always a niggling problem in the back of your head that you're just not quite sure what it's going to sort of turn out like. You always got it sort of always wanting for a bit more of that spiritual energy. So it's interesting. It's super interesting that you actually mentioned that as the reply, because I thought that if anything, given it's a Friday, both you and I are a little bit drained from the week, and I know internally I'm like, what, I could do with basically all of those energies at this moment.
Yeah, it's not easy doing a podcast this late at night. For me, my optimum energy is kind of middle of the morning, up to probably about 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, something like that. And after that, I start to kind of wane a little bit, So I've had to, especially for tonight as well, just before I got on, I did a little process to kind of boost my energy up. Otherwise, I'd probably start to yawn or something. Nothing to do with the present company, but it's just, I've been up for quite a while. And so I was thinking about this the other day, right? Especially those levels that you're talking about in different aspects. The emotional, certainly the mind and also physical. Spiritual, for me, spiritual means something different, obviously, for everyone, right? How we interpret that. But the spiritual energy itself, I think for me, it's always about alignment. How I do attach it very much to emotion as well. To the feeling, and it's kind of like what I enjoy, what I love, the spirit of me. It's kind of like that where I come back to. But I was pondering on the physical side of things, because I get into a good place mentally, get into a good place spiritually and emotionally, but when it comes to physical action, not so much. But I was kind of pondering this thing of music, been a musician for a long time, and some of the music I used to write and play, some of the types of things I would write would be quite emotional, and they were really songs that I would write not for the band, but for myself. And they might be acoustic or something like that. And they'd start off, I don't know from where, it'd start off from one note and then it'd evolve from there. But when I sit back and have a listen, and it gives me a name or a theme to it, and some of them were during my depression that I actually wrote it. And you could probably, if I told you it was during that time, you could go, oh yeah, I can hear that, But it started me thinking about, okay, what kind of music can we use to kind of motivate ourselves if we feel in a bit of a slump? And this is something we kind of do automatically, but maybe not on purpose. We might not think about it. And I was thinking, geez, if I had a playlist for every time I kind of felt a bit drained or something like that, like the song or the theme for Rocky always used to, I'd go, oh yeah, I love that theme. It's kind of like it's anchored in there, that kind of thing about motivation without words even. It's just the sound of that kind of music. And I remember a long time ago when I didn't really like exercise, and I was in my early 40s at the time, and I had never run around the block. If I ran to the front letterbox, I'd probably crack a sweat, But that changed after a while because I was super motivated to try and get past that, and be able to run at least a K or a couple of Ks, and that's not huge, but for me it was huge. And that period of time, what I was doing was putting little playlists together to kind of get me motivated. And it wasn't what people were saying, but it was just the music, and probably what some people used to do for aerobics and things like that, and I used to do the same thing and still do occasionally for meditation. Yeah, not going to put the Rocky theme on, but, it'll be something very kind of laid back and kind of sweet, so yeah.
I know exactly what you mean. I've started running again, and have been doing it for, I'd probably say 4 or 5 months.
Yep.
And I'm loving it. And prior to that, I was running before kids. So, talk maybe 20 years ago. And one thing that I do remember was running with music, and I was running with an iPod Nano, one of those small ones that you could. It was small enough, and it had like a Velcro casing, and you can sort of strap it around your arm.
Yeah.
This was before the iPhone. I don't think the iPhone was released yet. And so I was into, obviously IT guys. I had all this tech, and I had this stuff in my shoe that could track steps and all that. But what I loved was, I can't remember the app exactly, but the iPod Nano has like a circle wheel, and then in the middle there's a button. And the app that I had installed on the iPod, when you push the center button down, it would play a predetermined song. So the rest of the songs were kind of random. It was just songs that I like. And whenever I needed a hit of energy, I would push the button and the song that I chose would play.
Yeah.
And for the longest time, and still now, it's Kickstart My Heart by Motley Crue.
Oh,
like when those guitars are hit,
yeah.
like it's like an adrenaline dump.
Yeah.
And I remember when I was doing some fixed runs, there's always like a hill that I have to go up. And it would give me this sense of excitement, yet dread, and some anxiety because it was going to be a tough thing. But I knew that when I had the music, it would see me through it. But then once the hill was gone, I'd be drained. And it was so good to know that it was there. And what always surprised me, again, even to this day, is that I could run pretty far, and be at the end of my, terms of say energy, be at the end of my tether, absolutely tired,
Yeah.
But if I push that button and I heard those guitars kick in, it's like the energy is still there. It's amazing. And it's almost like, well, it'd be kind of cool if I could harness that energy when I wanted to without having to rely on, the music and all of that sort of stuff. And I'm sure I have, but it just doesn't seem as pronounced as like that switch to go, okay, I'm pretty tired. I've got my last K left. This is going to take me, I don't know, 5 minutes or so. I'm so tired. Button, guitar's gone. And it's almost like a 2X thing.
Yeah.
And it'll empty me out. But it's just that little bit of motivation that, there's obviously a brain thing somewhere that the second I hear those things, the body's like, oh yeah, let's do this. And then by the end of it, it's gone. So
it's like hitting the nitrous button.
It's absolutely nitrous for me. Yeah. Absolutely nitrous. And I've tried it with other songs and, certain successes there. But, it's always come back to kickstart my heart.
That's great.
Because there's a crescendo. I'm sure you know the song very well, but it starts off very hard. And then towards the end, it starts to get a bit soft, almost a cappella style.
Yeah.
And then, so you have this massive dump of adrenaline. You go hard out. And just as I'm starting to tank a little bit, the song dies down a bit. And he starts to slow down. And that's how I'm feeling. Yeah. And then towards the end of the song, it starts to ramp back up again, even higher than the start. And then that's it. I'm spent again because I'm just like, oh, it's coming back. Let's go. So, yeah.
So do you reckon the song was pushing you? You like when it was winding down, do you think you were kind of following the way the song was going?
I actually think that, like that song for me is just the perfect song because I can only sustain that level of high, and at that point, my heart rate is close to 200. I swear to God. Yeah. I've done some hard runs recently and I'm still in the 190s in terms of max.
Yeah.
So when I was much younger, hitting 200 is pretty common thing. Yeah. And it could be, it's almost like I was one with the music while it's playing because I can hear it, like the beats and everything. And even now, like even if I'm not doing exercise and I hear it on the radio or I hear it on YouTube or whatever, like my body is like, hey, I should be running. I should be doing something because it's giving me this mood to, for some action. I love it. It's awesome.
It's anchored, but here's the thing, right? So because you know that, right, you can use that with anything. Like you said, if you hear that song somewhere, all of a sudden it makes you feel like you've got to move. Got to get going, and that's what it does. But if we can harness that, without actually plugging it in, putting our earphones in, where we can think about that song, even we know that. Think about any memory; it can bring back emotions, right? It can motivate you, it can make you sad, all of those sort of things, right? But you brought back a memory actually when you were saying that, because when I was actually doing my running, there's two things that motivated me, right? There was a reason, obviously a deep reason why I wanted to run, for health reasons, but I also wanted to kind of get fat off my belly and all of that and start looking a lot better, right? And at that time I was single, so the motivation was I had this dream woman in my mind, and that's what motivated me to move. And that thing about what you were saying with Kickstart My Heart, what it was for me when I was starting to wane, I would imagine there was a tiger chasing me, and like a real tiger chasing me. I'd imagine that, and same sort of thing. It'd give me a boost, but if you can anchor it, like if I saw a tiger, well, that'd probably be better. But but the thing with the music is it's something that's accessible, so it's very good. The other thing too, to make it easier to any kind of thing that you're trying to do that's difficult, I remember I used to get all my stuff out the night before. I'd have my shoes right where my feet were going to hit the floor, so I didn't have any excuses. It was kind of like half asleep, feet go into my runners, put my clothes on, I'm out the door. And so I was ready to go before I'd woken up, type thing, So set yourself up for success.
Yeah, it doesn't take much these days. I think we've done this enough times to know that even just doing the next step leads to doing the rest of it.
Yeah.
I've had it a couple of times where I've run and it's either started to rain or it's started to spit. So I run super early in the mornings. I run anywhere from, just before 5 o'clock to 6:30. So it's pitch black. And, we're getting into better weather now, but I started running pretty much during winter. And thankfully, for whatever reason, it didn't rain as much, but it still rained in some mornings. And I would look at the clouds and go, okay, well, the rain, it says it might not, or it might, but I'll give it a shot anyway. And a couple of times I've done it, hasn't rained. That's fine. And a couple of other times I've run and it started to spit a little. And for about 2 or 3 minutes in my head, I'm running, trying to concentrate on running, yet at the same time, I'm having this internal battle with myself going, I should turn around because it's going to get really wet. And then it's like, no, just keep running because you've gone pretty far. It's like, but if I get further, I have to run further back. And it's like, yeah, but you're really good at running now. Like, keep going. And more often than not, once I win those battles there, then the rest is fine. And it's similar to getting up in the morning where you go, oh, all right, I should run this morning. Great. Okay, here are where are my socks? Where are my shoes? Oh, you know what? I can't find it. I'll go back to bed.
Yeah.
It's just, if you make all of that stuff easier and just make those decisions. And for me, it could be just once that I do it. That once I get past that hurdle of, okay, so I know that if I don't set my clothes up, I know that I can just find them and go, because I've overcome that first time where I was like, you know what, I'm going to go back to bed. It's too easy. It's easier that way. But after you make things ready, put the clothes on and everything's all ready, it's like, okay, that wasn't so hard. Next time I won't try and use that as an excuse, because I think for most of us, if we don't want to do it, we look at any excuse. Oh, it's going to rain. It could rain in 5 minutes. I can't find my clothes, or it's too cold, or my headphones battery, it's gone flat and I can't. I need to listen to something. All these excuses.
Yeah.
But once you start to overcome them once, that's the biggest thing, because the next time it's like, you know what, you've done this before. Just keep running. And it makes it a little bit easier to go past it. So
yeah, absolutely. I think, if you've eliminated all those excuses, brilliant. Do you find that sometimes there's still a thing where you're looking for an excuse to go, oh, I want to go back to bed? And I think the thing that trumps that is going back to the reason why you're actually running in the first place, or whatever the activity is, because you decided to do it for some reason. You didn't kind of just do it for something to do. No one just runs for the sake of running. Unless someone's chasing them, right?
I do now. It's fun.
Yeah, but there must be a reason, right? It's either health or whatever it is for you personally. Like, no one's holding a gun to your head. Get out of bed, go for a run. So,
but no, it is something that I've grown accustomed to. It's similar to what you were saying before about your energy supplies. I've started going to bed really early, as probably since for the past 3 or 4 years.
Yeah,
like I'm 9:30 pretty much on the dot, and I'm usually up by 4:30. And it's just I find that I'm quite in tune with how much sleep I need, and it doesn't matter what time I go to bed. It kind of affects how I wake up. So if I go to bed 10:30, it might be 5:30. If I go to bed 8:30, I'll get up at 3:30. It just it's like my body needs a particular amount of sleep, and it might not be the ideal based off what people say. They say, oh, you need 8 or 9 hours sleep. I physically can't sleep for that long.
Yep.
You know, I'll wake up and I'll be like, I can't stay in bed. Like it's a waste of a day or a waste of a morning. Like if I'm awake, I'd rather get up and then do something about it rather than just sit here and go, well, I'm awake. Like, you know, it's not like it's super warm in here. Like, sure, it's warm, but you know, we have a bad habit of leaving the heater on. That's why our gas bills are so expensive. But you know,
don't get me started on that one. Oh my God.
So, you know, waking up, it's like, you know what, whether I have the blanket on or off, it's still warm anyway. So I might as well get up and start going for a run.
Yeah. When I was younger, I tell you what, I didn't need much sleep. Still don't really need much sleep. I probably get about 6 hours if I'm lucky. But when I was younger, I had this idea that if I sleep too long, I'm going to miss out on life, you know. And 4 hours was it, you know.
Wow.
Up until probably the time I was maybe about mid-40s, 4 hours was my thing. And but I was never tired. Like 4 hours was my body clock. And I don't know whether I got used to that, but I had heaps of energy. And as I got a little bit older, and it may have something to do with, you know, getting type 2 as well, because I believe, you know, that takes quite a bit of energy away from you as well. But, you know, it still hasn't changed too much. You know, it's only a couple of hours. The thing that has changed is trying to get used to go to bed earlier. Because when I was working for a couple of years at a, you know, outside job, I would get up at 4:30 and I wouldn't start till 8:30, but I didn't want to change my routine. In the morning, I'd get up, journal, meditate, and do all the things that I was doing before I'd go to work. And I thought, I'm not going to change that. So it means I've got to get up even earlier. And when I was younger, I was kind of like a night owl. So I wouldn't go to bed till maybe 3 o'clock. 2:30, 3 o'clock, even if I was working, sleep for 4 hours and then go to work, you know, and
Crazy.
that was, for me, it was just normal. And I suppose that might have been with playing with, in the bands and when we were gigging, it'd always be late. So we'd never get back home till, you know, 2 or 3 o'clock anyway. So maybe that's how I got used to that routine. But for me, it was never a case of being tired. But these days, it's about more listening to your body. You know, if you're tired, that's, you know, you get to bed. If you need to sleep in a bit, if you've got the luxury to do that, do that. Otherwise, get to bed a bit earlier and do it. I'm saying that for me, not to preach to anyone else, but I listen to my physical body these days a bit more rather than kind of going, I'm missing out.
Yeah,
I'm missing out on sleep.
It's funny too because it's again, you know, as we get older, we learn the truths of things, and it's funny. This sort of stuff here, the truth rarely changes. It's just we just choose to listen to them as we get older, and what's pretty much a known fact. And this goes for basically any sort of medical person or scientist. They'll say all the same thing, and this is probably one of the only things that they all agree on, is that sleep is probably the most important thing for your body. Is like 100%. And you know, when we're young, and you know, I can see this happening now with my kids, they take sleep for granted. In fact, I think they actually think that sleep is a bad thing because they don't want to do it. And it's not a thing that they look forward to. They don't cherish it. They're just like, oh, I've got to go to sleep. It's like they have to complain. We have to force them to go to sleep. And it's not until they're adults till they realize, you know what, sleep is the most important thing. And it's not just you thinking about that. It's like scientists everywhere will say, you know, there are some scientists that go on one way for certain drugs or supplements and another one but collectively they all say that sleep is the most important thing. And, you know, studies prove it, and even yourself, after you know you have a bad night's sleep and you can't function the next day, you know, they say that driving when you're tired is as bad as driving when you're drunk. I think they actually say it's actually easier to drive drunk than it is to drive when you're low on sleep.
Yep.
And they say there are so many scientific experiments they've done with sleep at how it helps with your memory, it helps with your brain, it helps with your muscles, it helps with your joints, because you're lying down, everything gets this rest.
Yes.
And when you don't have it, or you don't have enough of it, it's hard to then function, because it's almost like being awake for 2 days, or not functioning properly because your body isn't rested. So it's I was one of those people as well, similar to you. I don't think 3 was a common occurrence for me. I think I was probably in my head, like once it hit past midnight, I was like, yeah, it's a bit late, should do something about that and go to bed.
For me, I love that late night time. It used to be when the house gets quiet, and I think that's what I love about getting up early too, because no one else is awake, and I've kind of got time to myself, and time to think, and time to do things without being disturbed. It's an awesome time. But you were saying about with the sleep, and I was thinking about imagine telling an athlete, right, thing that you're doing, running, just keep running for days.
Yeah.
Without any sleep, right? Or without any rest and recovery. Because the whole thing is, your body's active, whether you're exercising or you're just awake and doing what you have to do, right? Normal function. There's a time for doing that, as well as the recovery. If I could have slept longer when I was younger, I certainly would have. It was just kind of like I'm awake. My body would go, "You're awake. Time to go and do stuff." And I suppose if that didn't work for me, I would have seen I probably would have seen some different results around that time. But I'd been doing that from probably the time I was maybe 10 till mid-40s, so it's a long time. So I guess either my body got used to it, or that's just the way it was functioning. And not to say that 8 hours isn't good, but I'd love to get 8 hours if I could. And on occasions that does happen, but it's usually broken sleep that I get 8 hours, you know what I mean? And that seems to be worse sometimes, if I've got 5 or 6 really good hours, or, if you've got 8 or 10 hours, then it's just a series of broken sleep. It's worse, it's terrible.
It's funny. I have I'm part of a WhatsApp group with some people in my Toastmasters group, and it's a fitness one. It's really strange, but we share screenshots of our sleep patterns.
Oh yeah,
and we have one lady's in there, and she is determined to get more deep sleep compared to the rest of us. Like, I think I on average I probably get anywhere from 5.5 to maybe 6.5 max hours sleep. And of that, I have about 1.5 hours sleep, 1.5 hours of deep sleep, which seems to be pretty good. I guess, I don't know. It's one of those things that when I'm asleep, like, sure, I wake up every now and then, but whether or not I had deep sleep or not, I'm not exactly sure. It's all sleep for me.
Yeah.
But for her, she gets like minutes, and she's like, why can't I get deep sleep? And, she's reading up on it, and I think she's starting to take, what is it? Melatonin? Is that what it is?
Oh, right.
Melanin? I can't remember what it's called. To help with, but she doesn't need help with sleep, but she wants to get, a deeper sleep, which I think when she researched it a little, helped in recovery, recovery of the body, recovery of the brain, and all of this sort of stuff. And it's just one of those things now that people are starting to recognize it as almost like a superpower of sorts. It's what you said before is something that I struggled with, and what a lot of people that are new into running struggle with as well is that once you get into running and start to enjoy running, you want to run all the time. Like every morning you want to run. And there are ways in which you should be able to run to improve times and distances and all of that sort of stuff. But one thing that is super important is that you kind of have rest, and it's just really counterintuitive, especially if you enjoy doing it, because you want to run every morning. It's like, I want to go up and do 10Ks. This is really fun. But professionals and everyone will tell you, like, you should only run, 3 times a week or something like that. And of those 3 times, you should introduce intervals or different types of running to improve your times. But it's hard to do because you just want to keep doing it all the time. And it's, even once it's proven, and I've done it a couple of times where I think some of the weeks I've actually purposely not run just to see if it'll improve. Because in my head, and look, this can be for other people as well, the idea of trying to get better at something, most people's way of getting better is just constant repetition. So you think to yourself, if I want to be a better runner, it's like, what's the best way to do that? Oh, it's just easy, just run more. But it's actually counterintuitive, because your body doesn't get time to heal. It's just constantly tired. I've got a Garmin watch. I just use this for running, but it tells me how much my body battery has drained.
Yep.
And if I don't rest, it's constantly saying, hey man, your recovery time is getting more because you're actually not recovering.
Yes.
And I think what the sleep does the most for most people, which is more important, I feel, than the actual physical recovery, is the mental recovery. Because you can sleep for a while or not at all and feel physically okay, but if your head's not in it because it hasn't had that sleep, you're trying to make decisions, you're getting frustrated, you're getting angry. And a lot of the times it's just, how many times have people had like a really bad night's sleep and then come to work that day and they just don't function, or they're angry, their fuse is a lot shorter. And that's usually people's first excuse. If people are flying off the handle, it's like, what's wrong with you? And the first answer is like, I had a bad night's sleep. So it's amazing how something that is essentially free, that we're all, that most of us are actually privy to, and that we can really dictate how much of it that we want. We actually take it for granted. It's like, I don't want to sleep now, I've got things to do. But it's like, if you sleep less, then you're not actually being kind to your body. You're then operating at a deficit the next day. Like, what are you doing?
You're not going to be productive.
You're not going to be productive.
There's something you said a little while ago that reminded me of something where you said, that the studies show that driving a car while you're tired is worse than you being drunk, right? And this was a real thing. Actually, it was around the time where I first found out I had diabetes, and but I was getting tired, but I didn't know why. I felt spent most of the time. I was still only sleeping, 4 hours or whatever, and at the time I had kind of a late night job, and I was coming home. And, when you get to a set of lights, you stop there. And next minute, I was getting tooted. I'd fallen asleep at the steering wheel. And that happened quite a few times where, and I was lucky, there was no one on the road. And I'd fallen asleep and drifted across to the other side of the road. Not long after that, someone I knew through someone actually had the same thing happen, and they didn't survive.
No way, really?
Yeah, they actually went and hit a pole and passed away. So it really shook me up, and I thought, you got to do something about this, because you can't keep doing this. Because at the time it had happened, and I go, oh, I'm all right, I'll roll the window down or whatever. Roll the window down. That was before so you can see how long ago it was.
Gen Zers are like, what? Like, why is he rolling? Does glass bend?
Yeah, back in the day, we used to roll the window down. So, so I'd do that, turn the music up, and go, "I'll be all right. I'll be all right." And no, that's probably sometimes that might be the last thing that you remember. I'll be all right. So, really got to be careful. You will take
everyone has that story. I have that exact same story, and
Yeah.
for me, it was twice because I remember them vividly. One was I used to work in South Melbourne, and the thing was, it was just normal work hours. So it wasn't anything crazy, but for me, it was driving home at night during peak hour traffic, and I had like all of the cars around me, their lights shining in my mirrors and in my face.
Yeah.
And I remember doing what you mentioned. Like I would roll down all the windows. I would roll down all the windows. I would turn I would turn the aircon on just to try and keep awake. And a couple of times, actually, I think more often than not, I would pinch myself to feel pain. So I would stay awake on the freeway.
Yeah, slap your face, all of that.
It was all that. And the one time that I did what you did was I so remember this. It was Brady Road, Brady Road next to Stud Road, that intersection.
Yeah.
I was waiting there. I'm sitting there, and you have this internal monologue. You know what? I'll just close my eyes for like 5 seconds, and I would count, right? So it'd be like one, and then a couple of times it would work. And so it became a little bit of a habit of like, okay, I'll just close my eyes for 3 seconds. Like 1, 2. And then at some point you lose count. And I did. So I was actually in the work car. And so what happened was it was an automatic car, and I was stopped at the lights. I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 cars back. And as I was falling asleep at the wheel, I must have lifted my foot off the brake. And being automatic, it started to roll forward, and I hit the car in front of me.
Oh, wow.
But like what happened was the number plate of my work car hit the tow bar of the car in front, like dead center. So you know how the number plate, it's got the Vic in the middle.
Yeah,
I hit that.
Oh,
and
wow.
the back of this guy's tow bar, it was perfect. And then it jolted me up, and we've both come out and we've looked, and we're like, I said, I don't know. And he's like, oh, there it is. There's a little bit of scratch on the that was it. But that was my wake up call. Like that started me almost like I can't work. Yeah, I can't work in this, where I am. Like it's either I have to change hours or something's not right. Had I have been at the front of the lights, had I been at the front, like I just would have gone through the intersection. Like that's how it was. But it is
literally a wake up call, huh?
Oh, it was. And it's I still remember a couple of times, drifting, like driving at the wheel. You would drift and you go, oh, wait a minute. And the first time you catch yourself, depending on how stubborn you are, you'll be like, you know what, I'm almost home. I'll just keep going till I get home.
Yeah.
And then a couple of times you think to yourself, oh, wait a minute, what if I've already crashed and this is a dream that I'm driving? Yeah. Because a couple of times you don't even remember doing it.
Yeah.
You'll catch yourself. So that's why sleep is so important, and it's scary now. Thinking about it.
One of my early jobs on a Friday, we would only on the Friday we'd have like split shifts, and if you were on the morning shift, you'd do a 6 till 12, I believe it was 6 hours, and if you were on the afternoon, you'd take over from 12 till 6 at night. And this one weekend that was on, it was Bathurst weekend, right? And so from where I was, it was going to take me about 9.5 hours constant driving to get there, right? And so I decided I'm going to do the morning shift, go back home, get my stuff, and I was with my partner at the time, so she was coming, and the idea was she was going to drive some of the time. And that didn't happen. But we left work. We got our stuff, got in the car, and it was probably, maybe, I can't remember what time it was that we left, to be honest. It was kind of mid-afternoon. And, as I was getting closer to New South Wales, I was getting very, very tired. I know it was like, 4:00 in the morning or whatever. And I'm going, one more town.
Yeah.
And the next town would be like half an hour away. And we'd get there and she'd go, "You're going to go and sleep now?" And I'd go, "Just one more town. And I kept going like that for probably about 5 towns. Finally, I got to Bathurst. When you've got one more town to go to get to your destination, it's kind of like, I'm not stopping now. So I went, and the sun was just coming up, like when I got to that last town before I got to Bathurst. And it was about 7:30 in the morning. So when we got there, I didn't go to sleep. So it was kind of like the excitement of being there. It was the first time I'd been there. And we went and parked the car, and I, stayed up for a few hours, watched some of the races, the support races. And by the middle of the day, I was spent, and so I went and slept in the car. The car was not far from where the track was, so I could hear the track while I was sleeping. And yeah, it was exhausting, but you do sometimes find that thing and you go, "Oh, just one more," or whatever it is, I'll sleep for 5 seconds or whatever, but it's crazy.
Yeah. It's nuts. It's like the Europeans have it right, like having a siesta.
Oh, yeah.
I went through this phase, and I'd like to try and get back into it, where I would nap.
Yeah.
And I had this weird calculation, and this was around when I was probably my late 20s.
Yeah.
Where it was it was like peak hour traffic, right? In peak hour traffic, if you leave 5 minutes earlier, if you leave 5 minutes earlier, then you would get to work at a decent time. Now, if you left 5 minutes later in peak hour, you're not going to arrive 5 minutes after. You're going to arrive 15, 20, 30 minutes after. It's just how it was.
Yeah.
So I had this weird calculation, and it seemed to work for me, that for every 30 minutes that I would nap, it didn't mean that I could stay awake for 30 minutes more. It meant that I could stay up for an hour, hour plus more, until I started to get tired.
Yeah.
It was like the sleep that I forced myself to have during the day was enough to keep me awake for longer than the time that I was napping for.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
Yeah.
And I did that for so long, and people used to dig me on it. I said, "Man, you got to try it,"
Yeah.
And I had, this was when I was working somewhere in South Melbourne, and there was a gentleman there that would systematically sleep during his lunch break, and he would do it in the lunchroom. Now, mind you, this is a small office of less than 10 people. Lunchroom was tiny, and he would get into this chair. He would clasp his hands, put his hands on the arms of the chair, and just close his eyes, and he would sleep. He would do it every single day. And from memory, it was maybe 15 or 20 minutes. And then he would power through for the rest of the day. And I think he would do 12 or 13-hour shifts, not shifts, but that's how long he would work for. And he would attribute that for that nap, that nap in the middle of the day that sort of kept him going.
Yeah.
And it's funny because when you grow up, like I said, people used to dig me on it. You used to laugh at people. You say, "Ha, you're taking a nana nap." It's like, but yeah, you know what? You take it and you feel great.
Yeah.
As opposed to what we do here, in Australia, in America, and every other place, where you have lunch and people would have, they will try to have a healthy lunch, but more often than not, it's pretty unhealthy.
Yeah.
And then after lunch, it's like, okay, let's get back to work. And then what happens? You carb crash, or you don't feel like working. And it's like, you know what? I'm not productive now. So by the time you get back from lunch, 1:30, 2 o'clock, all the way to 5:36, it's not your best work.
Yeah, so true.
Whereas if you whacked a nap in there,
Yeah.
and then you ate your food, had a nap, come back up, and it's like, you know what, I'm happy to do this for the rest of
Yeah.
5 o'clock, 6 o'clock.
Yeah, absolutely. The power nap, that's become a thing too with driving, right? That came in quite a long time ago now, but I hope people do that. But it really comes back to this thing about energy that we were talking about, right? So how do you kind of expel energy, and how do you reserve more and get that boost? Like your power nap that you had at your lunch. It's kind of like those, you've got fast adapters now for your phone.
Mm.
It's kind of like that. You don't have to have a few hours. You could just have a short power nap, to kind of reboost your energy. You mentioned your friend, how she couldn't get any kind of deep sleep. Did you say she sleeps but she can't get a deep sleep? Is it?
Yeah, so she's just, so we have different apps that measure our sleep. I think she just uses Apple's app, and I use a Fitbit,
Right.
and it measures the amount of deep sleep. Now, whether that's I don't know how it calculates it, whether it's based off heart rate or position or breathing patterns, but she constantly just doesn't have much of it, and I think
Right.
I wouldn't say it's concerning her, but it's like, well, if it's
Yeah.
something that I can control and have more of, and it's actually beneficial, then maybe I should try and get more of it.
Yeah. Reason I asked, I remember a long time ago, and I've tried kind of everything, right? I used to do these subliminal kind of
I've tried those.
CDs, right? While you sleep, you put them on, and my my body after getting up was heavy, tired, lethargic, and I thought, what's going on? I thought this was supposed to make you feel good, and I'd still keep doing it. But then what I realised is your brain never gets to rest. There's activity still going on, even though your body's not moving. So your mind is fatigued. Your mind actually needs the rest as well. So what I was going to suggest, and I don't know whether she does it, but when you start breathing techniques and also meditation before going to bed, that gets you into a very, very, very relaxed state, and especially for your mind. And normally we find when we don't get a really deep sleep is probably our mind's still a bit active, and it's kind of like switching the mind off before we go to bed, to kind of wind down. We kind of, I don't know, do we do that for our bodies? I don't know, unless you do it consciously. Perhaps not. You probably just jump straight in bed or whatever. I find these days as well, I put on music, but not too loud. It's kind of like background. And I find rain noise soothing, or some soothing music, but usually I love the sound of rain, and that seems to get me into a very, very deep comatose state. So it's kind of finding those things, those little, I guess they're hacks, but really it comes back to, what supports your energy, your body, your mind, body and spirit, of course, and also your emotions. So, yeah.
Yeah, I found that I've changed quite a lot. I think in the way that I sleep. I used to have the TV on. Now, don't judge.
Yeah.
Some people say you shouldn't have a TV on in your bedroom and blah blah blah. And look, I've had that and not. And for the longest time, I would have it on but not watch it. It was just more of like similar to your background noise.
Mm.
And I've always been a light sleeper, even though my Fitbit says that I deep sleep for quite a while. And I generally have good sleep. I think that I have great sleep. I wake up feeling refreshed. I'm one of those annoying wake up before the alarm goes off kind of guy. So I've got no problems there. But I generally am a light sleeper. And I think what might have happened is maybe that I'm starting to get a little bit more into some of the noises that when I'm trying to sleep, because I like what you said before, I've done it as well. I've tried subliminal stuff. I've tried binaurals. I've tried, self-hypnosis. I've tried affirmations. Like they all whether or not they work, it would have. It's I think it's very individual.
Mm.
I love listening to binaurals when I'm trying to do work. There's a particular concentration frequency for me that works.
Yeah.
The sleep, probably not so much. I've tried the affirmation stuff as well. Whether or not that worked, I didn't win tats, so some of them didn't work. But
Not yet.
yeah, true, right? Maybe I should be listening to them a bit more. But generally, I'm now wanting like absolute dead silence, pitch black room, or like that. That's what it is that I need in my sleep.
Yeah.
And kids will come in, they'll want to use the ensuite, they'll want to pick something up, and it annoys me, obviously, because I'm trying to go to bed. But that for me is almost like the ultimate way to sleep for me now, and it's changed, and it's only been like that for, I'd probably say, the past 2 or 3 years. When it's pitch black, like I can't hear a thing, and that's the way I go to bed.
Yeah.
But it's funny how it's changed over the years, and who knows, it might go back to wanting to have the TV on. I don't know, but it's just, it's kind of what it is that I'm sort of needing at this point.
Yeah. And the other thing we have to take into regard as well is our partners, right? What do they need? Like we might want the music on, or it to be pitch black or whatever, and they may want the TV on. And this is where not the conflict in terms of arguing, but it may not work for you, but it works for her, and vice versa. So where do you find that kind of happy medium for both of you, where it works for you? I know with my partner, because she starts pretty early, usually sometimes at 7 o'clock, and so she's usually in bed by about 8:30, 9 o'clock, and I'm still kind of up till maybe 11 or 12 o'clock. So we used to go to bed kind of the same time, but that's kind of shifted because of the hours that she keeps now, but and I could jump in bed, but I'll be lying there for 1 or 2 hours, before anything happens. So it's kind of like, I can't do this. And so and the other thing too is if I'm tired and I fall asleep, I'm up at 2 o'clock, and then it's kind of like my whole routine's wrecked. So so you do really have to get to a point where it really works for you, whatever that is. Yeah. Find ways of serving that energy, and also, like we were saying earlier, what do you do to boost your energy as well,
I'd love to know if there's a relationship between energy and passion for something. It's
I would say there is.
Yeah, I know now it's probably a bit difficult. I think seeing now as I've got quite a set sleep routine, and I'm happy with it. But I do know that in the past, when I was doing something, and it might not even be passion, it could just be attention.
Yeah.
Where everyone's done it. They've gone down a YouTube rabbit hole, or they're watching TV, or they're they're researching the latest running shoes or parts for their car. There's something that is taking their mind off the fact that you should be asleep.
Yeah.
In fact, it doesn't even crawl into your imagination at that time, because you're so occupied by what it is that you're doing at the moment. And quite often, like, how many people have done that, where they start watching a Netflix TV show, then they watch the next one, then the next episode, and they get so enthralled. And by the time they go, you know what, I think we've watched too many, and it's like 3 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is from the time they watch, say, the first episode to the time when they realize that it's 3 o'clock, their body hasn't once really told them that they're tired. They're so into whatever it is that they're doing. Like I said, it could be watching a TV show. It could be doing some research on the internet. It could be reading a book or whatever.
Yeah.
And so there's obviously some link there between energy. Like, obviously you'll feel it the next day, but it's not a type of feeling where and I still remember doing this because I see my kids doing this now, where they're trying to study, and the study they're not enjoying it, they're not enjoying the topic, and so they're like, you know what, I've studied for like 15 minutes, but it feels like 4 hours, like
Yeah.
nothing's making sense. And usually I'll just tell them, just go to bed. Like, it's
Yeah.
no use you trying to boast about, oh, I studied till 12 a.m., but then you've not taken anything in, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. It's kind of
So
like getting into that zone, isn't it? You've kind of got to flow, even if it's not something that you're working on. But you know, that thing, what you mentioned is passion. You know, and I suppose there's a scale. When you think about it, you know, you might have something that you've got an interest in, you like something, you love something, and you're fully passionate about something, you know, and it's just the intensity of that, you know, it just builds on that. And when you get to that, something that you're really into, you do lose time. I remember when I was younger, and I'm going to show my age because
you already talked about rolling up windows. I'm pretty
yeah, I
sure
know.
you're
So
okay
I've
there.
kind of blown that out of the water anyway, haven't I? But back in the 80s, there was this game console called ColecoVision. I don't know if you
Yeah,
remember
I
it.
remember.
You
Yeah, I
do?
played it.
Okay, good. So you're showing your age too. but
And also that you're a nerd. So yeah.
well, it wasn't mine actually.
Yeah.
But it was we bought it for the family, right? And my stepdad had bought this for the family. He'd never had a game console, obviously, in his time. You know, these things didn't exist. And he was the type of guy, they would go to bed at a decent time, my parents, you know. When I say decent time, 10 o'clock, something like that, 10:30. And so we got this ColecoVision, and we had, it was Donkey Kong on it, right? And plugged the thing in. So we said, okay, you go first. And, you know, we'd all take turns. By the time he got it, the second time he got it, he goes, oh, I'll have one more shot. And it was getting late. You know, by this time it might have been close to midnight. And he said, oh, I'll just have a few more games. We all went to sleep, us kids. We got up in the morning. He's still sitting there at 7:30 in the morning, still playing the game, you know, and his eyes were hanging out of his head, you know, he was tired, but he wouldn't put it away. It was kind of like, you know, he was, you know, really in the zone. He was captured by this thing, you know, so it was funny.
See, those are the sorts of things there. Those efforts there. I'd love to be able to turn that on and off, or at least know that that I'm capable of applying that kind of dedication to whatever task it is, not just ones that I feel passionate about. Because there are times when you'll have to do something where, you know, I was talking about the course, the coaching course that I'd finished a couple of weeks back, and how by doing the course on a particular day and then having to work and then having to do homework, I just didn't have the capacity. Like, as much as I loved coaching, I just couldn't bring enough energy to then continue the studies, to do the homework on that evening. I was just spent.
Yeah.
But if I had the ability to call upon that energy and go, you know what, like, I'm going to do this tonight, and in my mind I can just go switch and then do it, it would be perfect. But it's just one of those things now where, you know, I reckon that had I done the same thing, if I'd done the course, and instead of having to do homework, I had to like play the PlayStation, I reckon I could probably do that. You know what I mean? It's one of those things that a PlayStation, easy. I'll just do that. This is fun. And there's like 3 o'clock in the morning, I'm still kicking ass. So, you know, it's just one of those things that these are the things that fascinate me. And I think that a lot of people try and do those sorts of things. They try and harness it, and that's why people say, okay, well, if you take this will make you sleep better. This will improve your deep sleep. This will make you fall asleep faster. And because people are now starting to, you know, realize it. Like, I'm sure there's been, you know, sleep studies going for, you know, the longest amount of time, but most of the studies are around things to do while we're awake, you know, energy and clarity and, memory recall and brain function, like while you're awake. But no one, like we're doing stuff and researching sleep, but not as much as the other stuff. But in fact, sleep is probably the most important thing. Well, it is the most important thing.
Yeah, and like you said, that thing's for free. The sleep thing, get it done properly, and you just have to really be aware. You have to kind of notice what's going on here with my body and the environment. And if something works better for you, why would you not do it? And I think we just get stuck in some patterns, some stubborn patterns where we kind of go, I've done it this way all the time, and I'm going to drive to the next town. I'm going to keep going, that kind of thing. And instead of kind of going, you could probably, do a lot more if you just got half an hour's sleep, and then, keep going without any trouble.
Yeah.
But, that thing that you were saying about, if we could harness these things, and there is actually a way, there's an association where we take these patterns where you've got all those good feelings and you anchor it to something that you don't feel that great about or, as passionate about. And I don't know whether you've done that yet in your coaching, but that'll probably still come. And it's funny you talk about that. Today I was working on a program and a course, so I was doing a lot of writing, and I was kind of in the flow, and I'd written like 10 pages worth of things that need to kind of be implemented into what I'm doing. I find that bit easy. That's where the flow is for me. Putting the actual course together is another story, but this is where this association comes into play, I guess, the things that we find a little bit difficult, and not that you hate to do. Well, you could even do it with that. But like I was saying, putting the course together is something I enjoy to do. It's just it takes me a bit longer. But, it's interesting. We've got so many little technologies now about things, and if we start to become aware of all these little things that happen, even without being coached by someone else, right? You could do so many things just on your own where you can set yourself up for, to win, basically. You, like they say, win the day. And it's got to start off from the morning all the way till the night, get to sleep when your body needs to get to sleep, get the amount of hours you need to sleep, set yourself up for, starting off on the right foot where, if you're going for a run, have all your stuff out the night before, get your feet in the shoes and go, and all those other things that you said about, when we were running and about, whether it's running or something else to get you motivated in the morning, the music, get your mindset right, the emotion, and the spirit side of things, and that's a lot, and that's something that someone can do for themselves, without kind of getting mindset work or anything like that,
You know what the thing is, though? It's like, I think, I don't know if we're ever going to get to a point where we learn how important sleep is at the time that we need to know it. We always seem to know it when we're much older.
Yeah.
And, I've been telling my kids as a joke, not as a joke and serious. I said, you're not going to realize how important sleep is to you until you get to my age. But I'm telling you now, sleep is the most important thing for your body. Hammering it home. And they're just like, okay, Dad. It's like, wait, I know. If you listen to me and if you take one piece of advice and if you action this and you just sleep regularly, they're like, okay, whatever you say, like, the old man, go away. What do you know? You're just old and tired. But and every generation does it. They get to a particular age and you go, you know what? You're all right. Sleep is important, but it's almost like they think that they can outrun sleep. That they can, like, you said it a couple of times yourself. When you were younger, it's like 4 hours sleep. That's all I need. It's like, sure, but the thing is, you're never ever going to be able to replay it back and go, of the times when you said you could get by on 4 hours sleep,
Yeah.
What if you had 6 hours sleep instead? Like,
Yeah,
would
we'll
you
never
be
know,
more
I guess.
productive? You like,
Yeah.
no one ever knows, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's just one of those things that we all know it. We all tell our kids about it. They
Yeah.
think we're weird. It's like, well, I don't want to sleep. I just want to like play games and chat to
Yeah.
my friends and go out. And it's like, all right, well, when you're my age, and I'll say to you, I told you so. It'll be too late by then. You know what I
I
mean?
told you so. Don't we love saying that as parents too? I told you so.
Yeah.
I think the I don't know if it's a secret, but I think the thing is when we find what motivates them, the stuff that perhaps we don't want them to do, but it really motivates them. And when we tie, say, the sleep, to that, how does getting more sleep benefit you doing that?
It's like you're trying to habit stack sleep.
100%. 100%. Well, habit stacking, right? So yes, we could habit stack, but you could also, but what you're trying to do is tie it to their reason for actually doing it. Finding a reason why, and if they thought, oh, okay, if I got more sleep, I could play. I don't know what it is, what their motivation is, whether it's playing more games or whatever, or having the energy to run around without stopping. I don't know.
You'd have to be an absolutely awesome coach to be able to try and find a relationship there for them to go inside and go, okay, so if you had more sleep, what could you get more of? And they're like, sleep?
Might be time to set yourself a challenge. If I could get my kids to go to sleep, I can do anything.
I tell you what, now it's like that'd be a terribly hard challenge because now. Yeah. School holidays have just kicked on. They've just started actually today for me, which means that I know that at some points during the next 2 weeks, I'm going to get up and go for a run, and my son will still be up from the day before. Like I can guarantee at least once he'll be, if it's not that, I'll hear him yelling at his game at like 3 o'clock in the morning, and I'll be like, wait. Like, is he up? Has he gone to bed? Or like, oh my God, what's going on? Anyway, Shane, we've gone well over our 1 hour mark. Wow. It's like 1 hour. It's like, oh, look, 111. Very good.
Yeah, 111. I like that.
Before we wrap it up, let me drop my email address if anybody wants to reach out to me and say how wrong I am about everything. Firstly, the show email address is hello@gritandguidance.com. For me, it's Dex, DEX, at thedecafnetwork.com. And Shane, for you?
It's awakenguide555@gmail.com. That may change in the future.
You got it at that time.
May change in the future, but look out in the notes anyway, and we'll let you know if that changes.
Awesome, Shane. You have a good weekend.
You too, buddy. Take care.
Bye.
See ya.